Hi, and welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm your host, Harmony, and I'm here with Russell Case.
Harmony,
Yes.
you know that I just came back last night from Michigan.
Yes.
I was visiting my dad, my little brother, my mom there.
Yeah.
And now you've got me on the phone with some guy from Ohio.
Yeah.
That is not the best news I've ever had.
Why?
I was in Ann Arbor, Go Big Blue, just a couple days ago, and now the Ohio State here is sitting right in front of me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I got to spend the next hour with this guy.
How are you doing, Mark?
I'm well. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know about these like college rivalries and stuff, so I don't
ancient.
think. Yeah, maybe our listeners don't know.
Yeah, I guess they have like rock formations in Ohio, and all we have is water and lakes. We don't have a lot of rocks to speak of.
But his shell is the Great Lakes. Ashtanga.
That's concerning because he's nowhere near the Great Lakes.
I'm 5 miles from the lake. Where I'm sitting now is 5 miles from the lake.
Wow. What lake is it?
Lake Erie.
Lake Erie. Yeah, that's not a real Great Lake.
You're just across from Canada.
Lake Michigan. Now that's a Great Lake. That's a real Great Lake. That's
Lake Huron. Now that's the real Great Lake.
Lake Superior is nice, but Lake Michigan's the best.
Which one are we missing?
Lake Erie, Huron, Superior, Michigan, and what's that fifth one?
It's
Huron.
The acronym's HOMES. Huron, Ontario.
Yeah, that's
How can we forget Ontario?
That's a good lake there. Ontario's a great lake. Well, you grew up in Ohio?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I was born in Pontiac, where the cars came from.
Yeah.
Which is now like a washed up shell of a town.
Sad.
was there yesterday. It was a burned out husk. Is it still nice in Ohio?
Parts are, yeah.
Oh,
I love
good.
where I'm at, yeah.
Okay. You're in the north.
I'm in the very northeast corner of the state. Pretty close to like Buffalo, New York. Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, kind of that corner.
Yeah.
And I mean, just over the lake, is Toronto. So very, very north.
Yeah. You're basically Canadian.
Close, yeah. With the
giant
big beard.
mustachios.
Well, normally I have the big beard. Yeah. So normally with the big beard and the French last name and my love for maple syrup, people usually think I'm Canadian.
They've mistaken you.
Canadian.
But you had such an interesting journey to Ashtanga. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how did you come to this practice?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was after high school, I enlisted in the U.S. Marines, and I served 4 years from age 19 to 23.
Yeah,
and I was a mountain warfare instructor at a base in Northern California.
Wow,
nice. It was a beautiful base, beautiful country. It was like about an hour and a half north of Yosemite, of the eastern gate of Yosemite.
Yeah,
a little bit south of Tahoe. So it was like beautiful.
If I could ask you about that, my dad only very recently in his life did he start hearing people say to him, thank you for your service. And he was in the Army, and he was drafted during Vietnam, and he did jungle training down in Fort Polk. And he says he really likes it, but is it something like, if we were to thank you for your service, do you feel okay with it? Does it makes you feel a little self-conscious?
It makes me a little self-conscious, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are guys who went to war and lost a leg or things like this.
Right.
That I never even saw combat time. My older brother has been in the Marine Corps since '95. He's still in.
Wow.
He's been to Iraq several times, Afghanistan several times. He's been all over the place. He lives in Africa. He's currently living in Poland.
Wow.
He's working at the NATO Center trying to keep things calm with Russia.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
So there's a lot of guys that I feel like deserve the thanks, and I had a fun 4 years. I played in the mountains, so I feel kind of weird whenever people thank me.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you worry about your brother? I'd be so worried.
Yeah. There's always concern when he's going different places and things, but right now in Poland, I'm not that worried about him. In fact, I was just there teaching a workshop in Bydgoszcz, Poland,
Nice.
recently. And before I went, I was like, "Hey, Joe, is it safe?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's a NATO country." He's like, "If Russia comes here, like, he basically said that, it's no more dangerous there than it is in Ohio. Like, nukes can get sent anywhere, So
That's true.
So he's like, "Yeah, it's totally safe." So, and Poland was great. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really cool.
So my dad spent the entirety of his service in Germany selling hash to American servicemen. He would roll cigarettes and then dip them in hash that he had in his pocket because he said the American servicemen preferred marijuana. They didn't like this foreign hash stuff. And that was kind of really his service.
That is a service.
It is a service.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And then he was finally deported. I imagine that you probably didn't sell a whole bunch of hash to the guys in the mountains at all.
No, that wasn't my
kind of what your experience
specialty.
was.
No.
Mountaineering.
Okay, mountaineering. Yeah. Maybe more mushrooms, maybe?
No, we try to stay pretty lucid in the mountains. The thin oxygen will usually do that to you anyway. So
no. Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, my dad didn't try and stay lucid very much of the experience at all.
Did you ask him if he's okay with being brought up on the podcast since he started listening?
Oh, that was so weird. Yes, my dad drives me to the Great Lakes because I flew in, and then he wanted to show me Canada. It's like, Dad, yeah, I've seen a lot of it, honestly, but it's really, I'm here on, I think it's Bell Island, right north of Detroit, and we're looking out at Canada. I was like, yeah, looks good, Dad. And then he says, he loves to drive. We drove like 7 hours that day just looking at Detroit. And he says, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I found your wife's podcast. And, I didn't expect to hear you on the podcast at all. And I was like, well, I've talked a lot about my dad's drug use on this podcast. And so I'm now a little self-conscious about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I forgot that he
So
listened.
I hope Dad's not listening if you're out there.
That's funny.
So you were in the Army for 4 years in California, and it sounds like a pretty nice experience. Outdoorsy, working hard, enjoying life.
Yeah.
Not too intense.
You didn't go overseas then?
I was overseas, but not for combat time.
Okay.
I did spend a year in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So it was during that time in Bridgeport. That was the name of the base, Bridgeport, California. It was during my time there that I injured my back. I think, at the time I didn't understand why my back hurt. I looked at myself, and I weigh like 150 pounds. I'm 5'9". I looked at other guys who were the same size as me, doing the same,
exactly the same size as you. Yeah. Wow.
And doing the same job as me, and I'm like, what the heck? Their back's not bad. Why's mine? Like, why can't my body handle this?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I had 2 herniated discs in my low back, and I was left very frustrated because I did not like the suggestion by the doctor on base, which was to have surgery. I was I'm like 22 years old. Like, that doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah.
They wanted to like fuse.
Fuse your spine.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, that's not really cool. And other than that, I was in very good shape. I was running a lot. I was hiking through the mountains. I was climbing a ton, ice climbing a ton, mountaineering. So I was really fit, and I was enjoying being fit. And then suddenly, like, now it hurts to bend over and tie my boots.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, shit. What do I have to do here to fix this? So,
do you remember what you did to herniate your lower back?
I don't think it was one thing. I think it was just me not knowing how to train intelligently and just pushing myself too hard, not listening to myself. Things that I've learned now through yoga.
Yeah.
But I'm 42 now, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to learn those things when you're 42 for sure.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So, I think it was just repetitive abuse of my back,
right.
Improper body mechanics, things like that.
Yeah.
And so I got it in my head to like learn as much about the spine as I could because I didn't want to get surgery. So I started like reading as much as I get my hands on. I was watching videos on, the internet, from anyone who had any information about the spine, really, and I was just like determined to try to like figure this out. And during all my research and studies, like, yoga came up a lot.
Kept coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn it. Why does this keep?
Yeah.
YouTube keeps like yoga for backs, yoga for backs, yoga for backs.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it just kept like getting inundated with it. So, I was so Bridgeport is pretty remote. The nearest like big city is Carson City, Nevada, and then like Reno, Nevada. But those were both like over an hour and a half drive away. So there was like no yoga studios around, and it's a really small Marine Corps base, one of the smallest bases. There was like 100 permanent personnel stationed there. So some of the really big bases have big gyms, and they have yoga teachers, and they have this and that, and they have everything. Our base was like super like rustic, and there wasn't much there. So I didn't have access.
The mountains.
Yeah, in the mountains. Yeah, but I had no access to yoga. So I went and bought a DVD.
Yeah,
So I did. Sure. That was my solution. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I would do that like once or twice a week.
Which DVD?
It was I think her name was Karen Voigt. I don't even know if she's a yogi per se. I think she's like a fitness expert from like the 90s,
Yeah.
But the reason I bought that DVD, funny enough, is because of good marketing.
Really?
The cover was her doing an upward facing dog, and her back muscles were ripped, and she was on a big boulder, like a big rock. And I'm like, I'm a rock climber. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And she has nice back muscles.
Exactly. That's all it was. It was just maybe a sucker to marketing.
That's good though.
It's a funny question though, because like, how does like a rough and tough guy, I grew up in New Orleans, and I moved there with my mom from Illinois and Michigan, and like, you're in the Army. Like, what is the hook that allows someone like us to enter a world that is exclusive to white women?
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Like, what is it? How do you feel allowed to do it?
Yeah. But I remember thinking like, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, like, back then, I don't feel like yoga was as niche to like white ladies as it
wasn't
is
as trendy.
Today. Yeah. I think there was, I mean, I used to go to yoga classes, and it was like 50-50 men and women in the class.
What? Really?
Yeah, there was a lot of men in the yoga class.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's men teachers. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of yogalers.
But, in my head, I mean, I just, I thought yoga was like aerobics. And so that's why I got a DVD. I was like, I can do it in my barracks room by myself. No one has to know.
Right.
It makes my back feel better,
That's something that I learned with kids when I was teaching kids, is so many of the young men would do it if no one could see them.
Yeah.
And so like, I like doing it in my room by myself. And a lot of the young men that I was teaching in Milwaukee, for example, or, they liked it if they could be by themselves and no one could see them doing it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So did you feel better? Did it help?
It did. Yeah. I felt really good. And so good, in fact, that I was like, well, I don't need this anymore. And
you get, As soon as you were cured, you're out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, I don't need this. So I like tossed it aside, and kind of forgot about it for, a little while. Then my back started hurting again. And I'm like, where'd I put that? And so
this may need maintenance.
Yeah. It was like that for years, actually. Like I'm a slow learner.
Wow.
But yeah.
On and off. You're like,
years. Yeah. I was just like thinking, okay, I'm better. I don't need it anymore. And then I would go back to it. And it wasn't until I was out of the Marine Corps. I was working at a climbing gym. I was doing a little bit of guiding. A lot of basically I was working at the gym like 5 or 6 days a week, and the days I wasn't, I was outside climbing. So I mean, that was like my entire life. I wanted to be a professional rock climber. Like, I didn't care about really anything else. I wanted to live in a tent. Like, I was just like, this is it. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And and I took a trip down to Peru to do some mountaineering, and I noticed a lot of the studs, the people who were like the strongest climbers, were like old guys and old women. They were all in their 60s, and they were out climbing like the 20-year-olds. I mean, they were so fit and they were so strong. And what I noticed is they were all really particular about their diets, and they were all doing these like stretching routines every morning. And that made me kind of think like, maybe I need to get back to doing yoga.
Right.
Because my back was like, it was going back and forth from being happy and unhappy. Anyway, what eventually drew me to Ashtanga was that it was a set sequence. Like I was like, on Google and like looking up more stuff on yoga, and I came across Ashtanga, and I saw there was a set sequence. I was like, yes, my hyperactive ADD mind needs to be told what to do. And like when I, my military mind, like I liked structure. And if you give me structure, I can follow it. If you leave me up to my own, like, I get distracted. So that really attracted me about Ashtanga a lot. Which I know it's a turnoff for some people, that structure. They feel kind of confined by it, but I feel more freedom with the structure because then my mind can like stop thinking.
Yeah, that's important. I remember early on looking at that video of Patabi Joyce with Tim Miller and Chuck Miller and Richard Freeman, Karen Rain, and Eddie Stern, that pink video. With Maddie, rest in peace. And I remember looking at that and thinking, like, the real genius here is that these people are all doing the exact same set structure, and yet they're all flowering in such a completely unique way to themselves. Like there's each one of us is in this room in some form or fashion. A strong woman, a light woman, a big beefy guy like Tim, a little scrap of nothing, like Chuck, who's actually quite tall, but didn't know he was really tall. But it's like they were all like expressing their uniqueness in that structure. And some people seem to like think that you to be unique, you need to come up with your own thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's some of the beauty of the practice. Like when I'm teaching new students, like a sun salutation, for instance, like something just basic. Like there's like the waypoints. It's like, okay, like we start here and we're gonna end there. Okay, and then we're gonna start there, we're gonna end in a fold. But like how you get there, like that's up to your creative style a little bit. I personally like to be direct with my movements. I don't like to do too much flowery movements. I like to be precise and direct. But not that it's wrong if you add a little bit of floweriness to it. But I think it's really cool though that like we're told like where to go, but we're not really told how to go there. So yeah, it does allow for different body types for sure.
I guess you started out with David Swenson's practice manual.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what attracted you to that?
Well, I mean, I don't know what really attracted me to that book particularly. I just was online looking for information, and I saw that like, oh, the book will tell me what to do. Cool. So I think it's the first one I saw, so I bought it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And were you still practicing at home with the book now?
Oh yeah. I started Ashtanga when I was like 29 or 30 in there. And yeah, I did it every day. I mean, mostly every day. There were times where I thought maybe I should break up with this practice because my back still hurts, and I would leave it for a week and realize that it wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But in general, I was practicing every day in my room, in my extra room, before I went to work. And for about 4 years.
And your climbing was getting so good. No?
Well, no, because Ashtanga started to push climbing out. Like there's only so much time away.
Right.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
my body felt good. Like I was going to work and feeling good. My mind was feeling good. But yeah, like the more I practice Ashtanga, the more I teach now, the less I climb. Sadly,
right.
I need to find a good balance for that. But yeah, I'm not climbing as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We change.
We do.
For sure. But yeah, I'm trying to think what I was saying.
Well, you started practicing with David Swenson. I think you said at some point that you actually went out and did you seek him out and start talking to him?
Yeah, so there was after like about 4 years of practicing by myself, I'm like, I probably need some instruction. Like I need some help. So I did a search, and he was coming to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a 3.5 hour drive from where I am. So I'm like, hey, cool. Like I'm gonna go. So I signed up for it. And I went down to Columbus for a week and practiced with David. He was the first like teacher I had worked with. And
nice.
Yeah. And
was it like one of his teacher trainings where he's like taking you through the sequence and like you're learning to adjust and
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't want to be a teacher. I just wanted to learn more about Ashtanga,
Yeah, it's like Ashtanga boot camp though.
Yeah.
Every day, let's do it.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned something at that time about back bends and him mentioning something to you about back bends. Is that right?
Yeah. So during those 4 years I was practicing by myself, I was doing the practice the best I could. I was doing the whole series. I didn't know you're supposed to stop like at a posture you can't do well or whatever. So I was doing the whole series, kind of stuffing myself into Supta Kramasana.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it didn't go well. But in general, the forward folds felt nice because they were stretching out like my tight hamstrings and my tight back, but too much forward folding, would exacerbate a herniated disc.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening sometimes. I would fold too deep, like ego would get a hold of me, and I'd fold too deep in like Supta Kramasana and I'd hurt my back again.
Yeah.
So when I went down there, it was one of those like kind of bad weeks. Like I had I had heard it a few days prior and I was like, I got to go. I signed up for it. So I went down, I was moving kind of funny, and he picked up on it right away. So I told him like, what was going on with my back. And he's like, you need to, do way more back bending. You need to learn how to do up dog properly, and you need to learn how to do Urdhva Dhanurasana properly. And he even suggested starting second series. And I don't
to learn those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure when he said that to me, I was like, there's a second series. Like I didn't even know.
Yeah.
No, I think I knew, but like I never, I never like thought I would be going any further. Like I didn't care to. I just wanted to make my back stop hurting. And I thought back bends would literally destroy my back. I thought that would be the worst thing ever.
Oh, right.
So I was terrified of them. So I was like skipping them and like not really doing them very well. And he was like, no, you got to do these.
Yeah. They're actually the cure.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I read that about you, and I was curious because I'd learned Ashtanga Yoga in Chicago for a bit when I was in school, but then went down to Texas and I worked with David Swenson in a little circle of David Swensonites that were following him around everywhere in Austin. And at that time, and this would have been the late 90s, we were all just crazed for handstands. And so we were trying to do handstands between every posture. And then between sides, we were trying to do a handstand.
Wow.
So when I got into my first Mysore room, it wasn't so much that we were skipping back bends as that they were impossible because we had tried to stand on our hands so much that everything in our shoulders and our upper back was frozen.
So tight, yeah.
And going to Mysore was kind of I thought I was going to show off my handstands, and not actually be left in the dust by these, soft, wispy little boys. It was kind of a drip, but it was, I thought I'd put the work in, but actually learning the back bend was really, really critical, especially like the front of the hips, because you can do so many forward bends and so many handstands and so many navasanas that the front of your hips are so strong. You got to stretch that whole thing out.
Yeah.
There's like, it was everywhere and relentless.
Yeah. And not just in the practice, but I mean, even in our daily lives, if you think about how many times we like fold forward in our daily life.
Yeah.
I mean, like you lean forward to brush your teeth, like over the sink, and you wash your face and you make your bed and you're forward folded, like you drop something on the ground, you forward fold to pick it up. Like we're always leaning forward, and like our lumbar is supposed to have a curve in it, but we're always taking it the other direction constantly. So I just feel like we have to counter that. If we don't backbend, I mean, look at elderly people. As they age, they start to shrivel forward. They don't shrivel backwards. They don't go into a backbend.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, so like we got to counter gravity. We got to counter that.
I really feel it like if I'm on the computer a lot, and I'm on the computer quite a bit these days.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, I always like to kind of have my like back bender, my little wheel, my roller, and at least like roll my back out if I can, like once a day, because it's just so good to have that counter stretch. Like you're saying, everything's forward folding in the computer, the phone, the driving, the washing dishes, the everything, right?
Everything.
Like we just don't really do back bends very often unless you're being really intentional about it. Like, I'm going to do a back bend now.
It's crazy.
Well, certainly there must be like there's a lot of development there for you to get to where you are now as an authorized level 2 Ashtanga Yoga teacher. Can you tell us
killer Kapotasana?
Can you tell us that journey from meeting David Swenson to being in India and, you know, pardon the expression, being up to snuff?
So I left Columbus, came home, was really excited about like, you know, just the way I was feeling and like finally connecting with the teacher. And I really liked what he had to say. And I was like, this is great, you know, but like, he wasn't like in Ohio all the time, you know, it wasn't even nearby all the time. So I'm like, okay, I want to find someone else. I was hungry for more. So I got online and, you know, really, I think the only 2 yogis I knew at the time were like Kino and David, you know, like David Swenson, you know, like, they were just like probably the only people really, you know, doing much online, I felt like. So I Googled her name and, you know, I was like, well, what kind of trainings is she doing? So I went down to Miami Life Center.
Wow.
I think this was in 2014, maybe. And it was a 2-week course with Kino, Dave Christensen, and Patrick Nolan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. Patrick did like meditation and pranayama, and like Dave was going to our vinyasa count with us, and then Kino was doing like sutras, and she was doing the Mysore in the mornings, and it was really a cool little program they put together. And Kino and Day both, which is it's kind of ironic now because Day is no longer into backbending. She's against backbending, but they both at the time told me like, you need to backbend. And Day was actually very firm about it. She was like, you need to backbend. You're going to mess up your back if you don't. Because even though David Swenson told me that, I still went home and like didn't really follow his advice. I still went home and was like, but he's not in my body. He doesn't know. You know? I doubted it, you know? So they were like, you need to backbend. And I learned to stand up and drop back during that 2-week period. And that was like the real turning point. Like when I learned to stand up and drop back, my back pain just like dissolved. It felt, I felt like a new person. I felt like a new person. It felt so good.
Yeah.
And then when I was down there, I met Lucas. Do you guys know Lucas from Brazil?
Yeah. Haven't you?
Yeah.
I went to his shop
a couple times.
Yeah, he's so great.
Carvalho.
Yeah, I met Lucas and also Agatha. You guys know Agatha?
Yes. Yeah.
So they were down there. I met them, and the 3 of us became like pretty good friends. And we were out to dinner one night after like the day of classes. Yeah. And Lucas had been to Mysore once, but it was like a couple of years prior. He had some like time off from going back. And he's like, I really want to go back. And then the 3 of us were like, okay, let's make a pact. We're all going to go next year. Like, we're going to go.
Nice.
So we just decided to go. And and I guess I got the memo wrong because I showed up a month before they did, and I was all alone. It was like where am I?
You got a little crew together, and they missed the boat. That's a shame.
But I was there for 2 months, so I saw him my second month. But
yeah, good.
I had to find my way around Mysore myself, which was, you know, I don't know, kind of.
It's daunting, but it has its own kind of magic.
Yeah.
So you've been at that point. You'd been to Okinawa, and you've been around a little bit, but still, it's like something else going to India, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. It was Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been to several countries, but India is its own world. I mean, you guys know that. It's very different,
Mhm.
and it was. And actually, the first 24 hours, I think I hated it. I was like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't plan very well. Like I didn't like print out a map or anything. I just like, oh, I'll get there and use my Wi-Fi. I got there and like the apartment I rented, like the Wi-Fi was down. It was like one of those days with the power outage. So I'm like walking around like tired and hungry and thirsty, and I had no rupees yet. And I'm like, where's a shala at? Where's anything? I was like just wondering.
Yeah.
I was wandering around looking for
Wow.
food.
Where's the Wi-Fi? Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to Gokul chats and
Uh-huh.
asking where the shala was, and nobody there knew had ever even heard of it.
And that's like a
Isn't it
block
crazy?
away.
It was a block away. It was 2003, and nobody had any idea.
Oh yeah, but the shala was news.
It
So
was like,
that's why
there's
It's
no
nuts.
shala. There's no shala here.
no shala.
No, Nilayam, Ashtanga Yoga, no Nilayam here. Yeah, no.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so how was that first trip? Was it great? Were you like totally immersed? Did
Yeah,
you
it was amazing. I mean, like
Really?
after maybe the first practice, I was like, I was hooked. I was like, I'm definitely coming back here every year.
Yeah.
And I had really good practices every day. My body felt strong. I felt open. Sharat took a liking to me. You know how he sometimes does, and
Yeah.
anytime someone would try to help me catch, you like yell at them and send them away, and he would come over and help me catch. And I
Nice.
had never caught before, like ever.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That was my introduction to catching, and it was every day. And my back felt great, surprisingly. Like there was no pain. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So did your back ever start hurting again, or has it been healed for good now?
No, it's not healed for good. It's definitely daily maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every morning I wake up at 2 a.m. I do my practice from 3 to 5,
Yeah.
and then I start teaching. And yeah, at 2 a.m., like my back's like, no way, dude.
Yeah.
It definitely, I have to warm it up and start moving.
What do you do to warm up?
I have about a 15-minute little hip sequence that I do in the mornings. It's nothing too spectacular, but it gets my hamstrings, gets my lumbar, it just kind of gets things kind of moving, gets some external rotation going on. And so I do that in the morning before my practice. I also have an infrared sauna, and like in the wintertime, I'll usually hop in there first before practice.
Yeah.
But typically, I like to do the infrared after practice. Like I like to keep my sweat going longer, so I get in there after. But
Right.
on cold mornings, Ohio's cold.
Yeah. We know how cold Ohio is.
Hi from Canada.
Yeah. It is dangerously cold down there. You mentioned here, this is a great quote. It says, some of the things that you do on a daily basis for your personal self-care, you said there'll be a lot to type out here. Some of it is too strange and might seem a bit abnormal, but it would be definitely worth discussing. Yeah, I think I would like to hear more about
I want to hear
that.
about Mark's self-care regimen.
I want to hear the abnormal, deviant stuff that you do for your self-care.
Okay, so it's a lot of this stuff I didn't purposely create a system. I just started like doing things, like some things I've been doing for 20 years, some things I just have started doing 6 months ago. But there are things that I do that I just find work well for me. And then recently I'm like, okay, how can I like categorize these to explain to people? Because it's just like random shit, it's just all this like random stuff. So I'm like, how can I categorize these? So really what I have is, so I try to, with anything I do, I try to ask myself 2 questions. And it's how can I connect better to like myself and to nature? And how can I protect myself better from like all the modern day like toxins in the world, like either the toxins in our food or in our water, or like Wi-Fi signals constantly like blasting us, or EMFs or off gassing, all this stuff, So like, how can I like protect myself? So it's connect and protect are like the kind of the 2 the things. And all the things that I do, like I guess I could put them into like a couple. Like we could say that I think if you if you eat well, if you ask these questions, how can I connect to nature and how can I protect myself when it comes to eating? Okay. When it comes to drinking, when it comes to sleeping, when it comes to moving. And then I also like to seek everyday comfort and I like to seek discomfort. I think comfort and discomfort are really important in our lives. So like those are like the 6 areas, like, sleeping, eating, drinking, moving, comfort, and discomfort. And how can I connect and protect better? So I don't know which one. Where do we dive into?
Let's talk about food first.
Yeah, right from the beginning.
Everyone wants to talk about food. Yeah,
we're gonna go through them all though.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I just ate an entire bulb of garlic, so I would also like to talk about food.
And I would like to talk about protection.
Okay.
Yeah. You need personal protection from. Oh my goodness.
So with food, I have been. So I'll just come out and tell you guys this right now. It came out with Adam Keen the other day. I hadn't really told anyone this, but so I've been vegetarian for like, or maybe a flexitarian, pretty flexible with it. But since I was probably about 24 or 25. And then about 6 months ago, I started adding beef liver into my diet, actually.
Beef liver?
Yeah. It's not very good. I don't like it.
Like our dogs. They love it.
Yeah. It's
but don't
good for dogs.
Don't compare him to a dog, sweetie. That's not very nice. He's a nice
It must
man.
be good for you.
Chai gets beef liver, too.
Oh, what kind of dog is Chai?
Chai is an Indian Praya dog.
Oh, very nice. You brought one home.
Yeah, I brought her home my first year.
Oh.
Hello. Hi, Chai. Good dog. Yeah.
He loves beef liver too.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, totally.
Didn't get a lot of beef liver in India.
No,
which is garbage. Okay, so you added beef liver, and what's going on with
this?
For
the blood protein?
Why?
Well, so I started doing research on it, and it's like one of the most nutrient dense foods out there. And even though I feel like I had a pretty balanced vegetarian diet, I felt like I was depleted a little bit. I felt like I was getting kind of weak, and I was doing research, and people were saying like if you do like beef liver, like once a week, twice, or once every 2 weeks, something like this, like you don't need any other animal products. Like this is it, and like you will get everything you need. So like, let me try this. So I'm doing it like once a month or once every 3 weeks. Like I'm not doing it a whole lot yet.
That weakness is your back bend developing. That's how you know you're becoming a wispy young man when you feel weak and soft. That's how you know.
And so, do you cook it? Do you fry it? Do you dehydrate it? What do you do?
You're so curious about.
I don't know. I don't know how to cook. I don't know what to do with beef liver.
Do you slaughter the cow yourself?
Some listener might be really curious and want a recipe or something. People love recipes.
I don't slaughter it myself, but I found a local butcher that his everything they get is like within a 2-mile radius. It's all grass fed. So it's like I feel like it's a reputable source. I'm definitely very much against like factory farming, all that stuff. Like I'm not going to just start like buying everything and like eating just whatever. I'm still going to be very picky,
mindful
about this stuff. Mindful. But no, I fry it. I dip it in flour and then put it on a frying pan. And I eat about 4 or 5 ounces, not very much, just a little bit. It's like 5 bites. Yeah.
Per day.
No, like once a month.
She
once
said
every 3 weeks.
Once every 3 weeks.
I mean, really not very often at all. But actually, I've been doing this since like July, and I feel like really good. I feel
like your iron stores might have been low.
Probably.
It's your back bend opening. Your iron stores are low.
I feel like liver is very iron rich.
It is very iron rich.
So probably
it's also very B vitamin rich.
Right.
It's so many things. It's really rich in. And so anyway, but I'm still basically plant based. And I still eat a very plant based diet. But more so than more than what I eat, it's like how I eat. I think is very important, and I think that's the message I kind of want people to know is that like it doesn't matter if you're doing like keto or if you're doing vegetarian or vegan or this or that or whatever. like, I think whenever you choose a diet that you think is healthy, you do some research, you find it healthy. When you start buying food because you're on a diet, you're naturally just looking at healthier food. You're not buying processed stuff. You're not buying like garbage. Like, so, I just feel like it's the quality of the food that you buy that is so important, and it's your mindset with it. Like, if your mind is like, no, this is good for me. I don't feel guilt. I don't feel, where if you go to McDonald's because you're in a rush and you are guilty and eat a Big Mac and whatever, like, I feel like there's a different energy with eating that way. And oh yeah, go ahead.
What, speak the devil. Dad was listening to the Matrix episode.
Oh yeah.
And he was listening to it, and they all sat in the car and were convinced by the episode. It's like, we're going to be plant-based.
Yeah, it's a convincing episode.
And they were sitting down at the Steak Shack eating hamburgers, talking about their plan to become plant-based.
That's awesome.
When they turned and like, oh, this is kind of funny. Wouldn't even think about it. They weren't thinking about, they were just hungry, talking about, and they were all excited about being plant-based, and they were hungry, and they just eating hamburgers, planning out how they're going to go vegan.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So do you like take a moment to, be grateful or say a prayer? Do you like do something specific before you eat to create that connection?
I do. Yeah. But even before, I was eating animal products. Like, I always am grateful for like the food. Like, so, another thing that I think is really important is like, buying like for my vegetables. Like, I always try to buy local or what I grow in my garden out back.
Wow.
And so there, I'm always grateful too. It's like, my hands were in the soil. And like I go out there and pick the tomatoes. And so I feel like there's a connection to your food. And if you don't have a connection to your food, I think like being mindful and grateful for that is a way to connect to that food, for sure. Yeah. And then I think like no phones like at the table. Like we get our screens away from the table when we're eating. I think it's really important to like be present with the person you're with, or if you're alone, be present with your food. But I think that's super huge. I intermittent fast. So my first meal of the day is around 11. My last meal of the day is around 5 p.m. So those are like the window in which I eat.
You just eat as much as you can in that period.
Ice cream.
I got chastised so hard at the beginning, in the middle of COVID, because I made a social media post. Let's talk about social media for the social media intermission.
Yeah.
I made a social media post about intermittent fasting and said like, oh, if you're experiencing like some extra weight gain because of COVID,
don't mention weight
like
gain
an extra 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Instead of changing what you're eating, maybe just change the times you're eating.
Schedule, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You might as well have disconnected your Instagram at that point. Say goodnight, sister.
Then I was like, body shaming people.
Oh yeah. Harmony the fat shamer. That's where she is now.
And I was like, oh my gosh, really? That was not the intention of the post.
Yeah, purely good intention, but it's so easy to trick people nowadays. It's so easy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, man, I wasn't telling anyone to go on a diet. Nothing.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
So I hadn't told anyone really about my, eating liver. And then Adam asked me about it. He asked me about diet. So I'm like, well, I can't lie. So I have to, but I wasn't like advertising it,
Yeah, the confessions
but
came out.
Ahimsa comes before Satya. Remember that. And always non-harming before truth.
But I think that's a really good point. People have to make choices for their diet, that everyone's going to make different choices, and also like different things are going to resonate and sit with people in different ways. And I think the point that you're also bringing up is like, if you're going to eat meat, we feed our dogs meat, right? It's not like our dogs are vegetarian. Try to ethically source it as much as possible. Try to like be mindful of where you're, purchasing, like where it's coming from.
We're going to eat our dogs once they pass. We're not going to let that waste at all. They've got dog liver. Extraordinary.
Terrible.
Especially with the amount of money we spend on their food. I'm not wasting that dog's liver.
Yeah. But I think I love that. I think that's really important. And I love that connection with your food and like the production and the people you're with too. Yeah. It's really conscious. It's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I would never say that like these things are like, oh yeah, here's how I live. You should live this way.
Right.
But I think everyone can at least ask themselves the questions like, okay, like food, how can I connect to it a little better? And how can I protect? And it's going to be different for everyone depending on where you live and like what resources you have. Like, I heat my house with wood. Okay.
Oh yeah. Wow.
We don't turn our furnace on at all. It's never turned on.
Amazing.
So like I heat my house with wood, and that's a way, I only cut down dead trees that are on the property. We have about 8 acres here. So a lot of standing dead trees that need to come down or they'll fall in the house, or whatever. So I've never cut down a live tree. And that's a way I can connect with, like when the house is warm, it's like, oh, like I cut that tree down, I split the wood, I started the fire, it warmed the house, so there's a connection there. But of course, if you live in a city, you can't go to if you're in New York, you're not going to go to Central Park and cut down a tree. You'll get arrested.
Well, there are dead trees there, though.
Yeah, you still get arrested.
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, of course, it depends. Like we all can connect in different ways, but like you can ask yourself the question, like, is there a way I can connect differently? If you can't live in nature, you can load your house up. Every window in your house could have a houseplant in front of it. If you want to have a little cleaner air and a little more offset from off-gassing. Because like everything damn near off-gasses nowadays, even wood flooring, there's polyurethane on top of that wood flooring that off-gasses. Unless you have raw wood, which I did in my shawl. I put raw wood down on the shawl.
I feel bad for Harmony sometimes, the amount of time that I off-gas. I just feel terrible. And I know
Between the garlic and the off-gas.
It's the raw food that I eat. I eat a lot of raw vegetables and off-gases. And it's terrible.
Same.
I feel
terrible.
Your pain.
What about like the Wi-Fi signals and like, I mean, I think we're all quite sensitive to these things and we might not really notice, but Zoom fatigue is real. Like that is a real thing.
Do you teach a lot online? Do you do that?
I resisted for a long time. I did not want to teach online Mysore. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or something, I finally broke down and was like, okay,
that was like when most people went back to teaching in person. You realize that, right?
Yeah. I'm not great with technology, and my timing sucks. Yeah. So I finally opened up. So I have a few online students that log in the morning. But with Wi-Fi, I feel like again, we can't control where we live sometimes.
Right.
But like if you think about an apartment building. Like if you like open up your phone, you'd see like, oh, what Wi-Fi can we connect to? And you see like a list of 20 Wi-Fis. It's like,
right.
Whoa, that's probably a lot of radiation. They say Wi-Fi radiation is not bad for you, but like I feel it's not natural, so it can't be like 100% good for us. A
lot of electromagnetic waves coming at us.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Especially if you're in it like all the time, 24/7, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and if you're in an apartment building, like your neighbors above, below you, across the hall, like there's all those Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah.
Here, like I turn it on and I see one Wi-Fi network. That's
nice. But you live on 8 acres.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like not everyone can do that. Yeah. Like, it's a luxury. But like where you can, like you can control where you can. I turn my Wi-Fi off at night. What's the point of keeping it on at night if you're not planning on using it?
That's right.
And I keep my phone out of my bedroom at night. For 2 reasons. One, because I don't want the temptation of like, oh, I can't sleep. Let's look at some blue light and scroll Instagram. Right. I don't waste time.
Doom scroll. Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
So it's not near me for the temptation reason. But then also like it makes me get out of bed in the morning because my alarm is on here. I put it in the next room over. So I hear that alarm going off.
Get up and go do that.
Get up. Yeah, to do it.
That's the trick if you want to wake up at 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, not abnormal for an Ashtanga yoga teacher. Yeah, not unusual.
No.
Yeah.
But
I'm,
yeah, put it in the bathroom.
And a lot of people,
Actually, like in the bathtub.
A lot.
I want to ask you a question. We're on a really interesting path, and I think we've got a couple more of these pillars of
Yeah,
his
I'm gonna
life.
start looking at real estate in like the outback. Of Canada.
It's like 10 miles from here. So I'm just really, there's something really nice about you, and it's very wholesome and well-meaning and earnest. And the person that we're meeting today, and I wasn't sure. Harmony told me that she had a Marine that she wanted to interview from Ohio, and I was like, well, that's not a. I'm not sure about that, Harm. But then like meeting you is like, wow, you're an outdoorsman, and there's just something really like good about you. You can sense it, and I'm wondering like, where do you think that stems from? Like, where do you model yourself from? Was there like an uncle who was an Eagle Scout that you worshipped? Was there a pillar, like a pastor in your community who helped kind of guide you?
So I think my father, and then my grandfather, my mother's father, on that side. So one thing I'll say about my dad is that I find amazing, and I didn't realize this until I was an adult. Like one day it just like hit me, but I don't think I have ever seen my dad like down on himself or feeling down or feeling like guilt, like feeling like a victim or feeling like, oh, like pity or anything. Like he was always, no matter what, we weren't wealthy. Like he worked in a steel mill. Like he had a hard job,
Yeah.
But like he was just always happy. He was always positive, and I think just growing up with that, like, I mean, I don't try to be like, I mean, I guess we all try to be happy and positive, but I mean, it's not like a huge effort for me. It's just kind of like, it's how I am. I'm just very content.
Nice.
So I think that was a huge kind of role model, I mean, just of how to be. But then my grandfather also, like my grandfather immigrated to the U.S. From Italy when he was about 9 years old with his mother. His father was actually detained as they were getting on the boat because he had some like unpaid or I don't know, something that they threw him in jail.
Wow.
And he was in his father was in jail for like 2 years in Italy before he got out and could come in to his wife and kid. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just my grandfather and his mom that came here to Ohio, and he ended up lying about his age when he was 16 years old and quit high school and joined the U.S. Army and was in World War II in Korea. And growing up, he lived like 2 miles down the road from us. He and my grandmother lived like 2 miles down the road. So my brother and I like grew up on like just his stories of like, of like being in America and getting picked on because he didn't speak English, and just his time in the Army and just everything. And he was always like, he always had tons of philosophy, but it was always like this super simple, just very simple. Like, he'd always say, never quit your job on a bad day. Like, don't make a decision on a bad day, just like simple things, but he just gave us a lot of that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I just feel like, those two were just really big role models in my life.
I love it.
Yeah. So
I can't think of a family member that hasn't been in prison in my family. It's literally true. And maybe I don't know. My great uncle George didn't go to prison. I don't know, but that was that's it. And so we're not wholesome like that for our experience in prison, like your grandfather.
The great grandfather. It was the great grandfather. The grandfather was a child in America.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. It's so nice.
It's do you have, are you working on a family now?
No.
Just
my dog.
Just your dog. Well,
Chai.
I think he might be an eligible bachelor.
He's married.
I'm married. Yeah.
And is she are you working on a child with that lady?
Yeah.
No, okay.
They have enough to do out there on the ranch.
Well, think about it. I
The
think you've got a
acreage.
lot to give, honestly.
I mean, I guess children would help with like splitting wood and doing the chores around here, which would be nice.
That's a nice way to think about
Yeah,
children. Yes,
yeah.
they are helpful
Free
little workers.
labor.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I have a nephew and a niece from my sister, and then I have two nieces from my older brother. And I like being an uncle. It's
Wow,
great.
you got a big family.
Just two siblings. Yeah.
Two. Oh, your brother's
brother and
older. I thought your brother was younger. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm the youngest. Yeah, my brother's
Okay.
next in line, and then my sister is the oldest.
Okay. Okay. I was adding another one.
She won't admit that she's the oldest.
No, nor should
you
she.
can hear the way that he brought his voice down about his sister. She's the oldest. Like, she's a ball breaker. You can hear it. Oh my goodness. That's a story right there.
Well, I think some other people want to hear more about your sleep. How do you connect and protect with your sleep
Yes,
routine?
please. Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm going to say getting up at 2 a.m., not protection.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to bed at 6, it's all right.
That's
a
true.
lot of people hear that and they're immediately like, "Oh, that's not healthy. Like, are you okay? Are you sick? Are you like?" And they worry about me immediately.
Right.
It's kind of like whenever people like say you've eaten meat your whole life and you go vegetarian. All of a sudden, your friends are all worried about you. Oh, that's not healthy. You're not going to get enough protein.
Yeah.
Like people, they hear one little piece and they think you're not healthy. But what people aren't realizing when I say I get up at 2 a.m., they're not realizing all the other things that I do that they are probably not doing that makes my sleep good quality. And one is like not having a phone in the room, not having the Wi-Fi on at night. I track my sleep cycles. So most people on average get about a 90-minute sleep cycle. To go through a whole entire sleep cycle is about 90 minutes. So I find if I sleep in increments of 90, so like hour and a half increments. So like 3 hours obviously is not enough, but that would be 2 sleep cycles. 4.5 would be 3 sleep cycles. 6 hours. So I aim for 6 days a week. And then on my rest day, I get a little fat and happy and I do 7.5.
7.5.
7.5. I feel indulgent. Yeah. I feel guilty sometimes.
Sure. Guilty pleasure.
So you got to get to bed at like 7:30 at night.
He's going to get to bed in 45 minutes.
Yeah. We got to let you go.
So what I do is I usually get up and get in bed around 7:30 and I read a little bit. But I try to have lights off at 8. 8 to 2 is 6 hours. And that works pretty well for me. The other thing that I do, which is this is maybe one of the things that's a little abnormal, because you asked about those.
Yeah, we want to get into those.
Yeah, so I don't sleep on a traditional bed.
What do you sleep on?
It is a wooden box that I built.
Phenomenal!
And then I have a 2-inch thick wool mat that's on top of that. So that wool mat is like the mattress. And then, of course, sheets on top of that and a blanket on top of that,
Does your wife sleep with you or does she have her own bed?
No, she sleeps on the same bed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You got to keep her there.
Yeah, you've got to keep her.
I'm going to tell you, a lot of ladies aren't going to put up with that.
What does Goenkaji say about the indulgent?
It's true.
Indulgent bedding.
You can't.
Luxury bedding.
Yeah, it's not good for your sadhana.
Yeah, no. That's amazing.
But I find
you sleep in a coffin.
I find that I'm not in a box. I'm on a box.
I completely misread that. I'm sorry.
That would be weird. So, I find that when I go camping, I'm sleeping on the ground on a thin thermarest mat, and I never wake up with back pain when I'm out rock climbing.
Right.
I'm using my body all day long. And I don't get a full asana practice in whenever I'm out rock climbing. I'll do some sun salutations and like some hip stretches. I'm not gonna do my full practice when it's like, 4 a.m. and cold outside and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I never wake up with back pain. My back feels great. So I thought, well, how can we replicate that indoors? So let's sleep on wood. I want a natural material. I didn't want something that was going to off gas. So we have wood, and we used a wool mat, again, natural. And I started thinking this would be a good idea. But before I did it, I did a little research, doing some reading online, And one thing I read is that when you sleep on a really hard surface, like on the ground, even sometimes people sleep on the floor, your bones like settle more in your like musculature, and it allows your muscles to actually like totally relax in the connective tissue to totally relax. Where normally if you're like on a water bed or something really soft, like your muscles stay a little bit tense because they're trying to like hold you into a posture. So yeah, now you kind of have to back sleep. It's not very comfortable to sleep like on your side or on your back sleep.
Yeah.
But
I'm just gonna make sure our dog doesn't pee on the floor upstairs.
He's fine.
No, he needs to go outside.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them outside. Be right back. You guys
quick pause. Okay. So what area do we need to cover? We did the food, the sleep, the off-gassing, and technology.
Yeah, we can talk about like drinking, like water. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's
all that vodka you're drinking during the day.
It looks like water. No one knows. Yeah. So, I mean, this is nothing like too hardcore or crazy at all by any means. I think this is just kind of basic, but I try to drink half in pounds. I weigh 150 pounds, so half that in ounces. So I weigh 150 pounds. I try to drink 75 ounces of water a day.
How much is that in liters?
Let's see. 32 ounces is a quart. And a quart is almost a liter. They're close.
So it's like 2 liters, kind of.
Yeah, it's a little over 2. Yeah, a little over 2.
Yeah, that's not too crazy. I think that's recommended.
Yeah, exactly.
I try and drink 2 liters of water too.
Yeah, it's nothing insane at all.
I heard the supermodels drink like 4 liters.
They don't eat any calories though,
but that keeps their skin really nice.
So the water intake, I mean, that's nothing like too crazy, the amount. This is what I go by, the rule of thumb, half your body weight in ounces. And then I try to only drink like 4 to 6 ounces an hour. Because if you drink too much at once, you just end up peeing it out. You don't actually get that hydration. So I try to like space it out through the day. So like 4 to 6 ounces per hour, I think is really important. Because if you just slam 2 liters before bed, you're gonna, you're just gonna pee it all out, and you're not actually hydrating your tissues very much.
Yeah. See, I'm glad you bring this up, actually. I'm feeling really validated now. I always used to do that because I'd forget to drink water during the day. And then at night, I drink like so much right before bed.
Like a gallon.
Yeah, not a gallon, but
nearly.
Like a liter and a half or something, gallon, right? Yeah. And then I bought this really cute water bottle that has the time marking.
Are you hawking a product again?
No, but I'm just saying
the subliminal marketing for products on this show have gotten out of control.
But it's really helpful because it like has 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and then you fill it up again.
I love it. That's genius.
Yeah, and it's really helping me be more aware about drinking water throughout the day and like little bits rather than just like hawking back a liter like you just said.
Yeah, I like it.
And I think I'm getting more hydration than otherwise. Like my energy feels better, and also you don't get bloated like drinking a liter of water at one time.
We'll link the product below in the show notes.
I don't get any product reimbursements for it, but I think it's true. I think what you're saying is true. I think it's really like a good tip.
Yeah, and another thing that I think is important. I don't know if it's the same in Canada or not, but in the U.S. they put fluoride. They fluoridate the water.
Oh yeah,
it's very good for your teeth. Yeah,
it's good for your teeth, but it's not good for your brain. We're not supposed to ingest it.
I know.
And like,
you're supposed to swish the water, but I'm gonna
tell you a really annoying, sad story about our city,
Calgary.
We had fluoridated.
I don't
know the word.
We didn't have Florida in our water. Okay.
I pushed to get the fluoride passed.
Yeah, we had the fluoride out of our water for like 10, 15, 20 years maybe. When I was a kid, it was in there, and then we passed
and then they wanted to put the fluoride in.
The law to get it out. And then
I protested in the street to get this law passed.
Last year, we had like a referendum again. and they put it back in.
I put a sign in our front yard. We got to vote yes on the
No.
fluoride.
It was close, but they
tell us,
put it back in.
what do you have against fluoride now, Mark?
It's poison. It's
Well,
cat
I'm
poison.
asking our guest here, and your personal views are to one side.
So, I mean, I'm not a scientist by any means, but a lot of the research I've read, they're linking it to like Alzheimer's, things like this. They really think it's bad for the brain.
Maybe that's why I can't remember anything anymore.
Yeah. Also, you're a bit overworked, I'd say, as well.
So since we're going to do product promotions, let's get a link up here for Berkey.
Okay. That's a water purifier that takes out the fluoride?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh, can you get closer to that? Can we get a camera on that?
Sure.
Can we get a Berkey cam?
So this is the Berkey.
Awesome.
The pour water up here. It holds 6 gallons up here, and then it filters down into this chamber. So we're Berkey on a well. Available? Oh, go ahead.
Is Berkey available at a retailer near you?
Probably.
I bought it online. I don't know where to find them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on a well, so there's not fluoride in our water.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I definitely recommend them if you're living in a city and you have to have the fluoride. I mean, they're a great filter, and like the filters in it, like you have to change them every once in a while. But they last I think it's like 10,000 gallons or something ridiculous. I mean, they last a long time. We've had it for several years and haven't changed the filter.
Wow.
Since we're on a well, our well pump is electric. That's what pulls the water out of the ground.
Yeah.
So whenever we get a power outage, we also lose water. If you're in the city, you lose power, you just lose your lights, but you still can turn your tap on.
Yeah.
We lose water too. So since we have the Berkey, it holds 6 gallons of water. So that actually sustains us, if we have like a day where there's no power, which is great.
Wow.
So
have you thought about getting off the electrical grid? Have you thought about ways to do that?
Yeah. So Ohio is pretty cloudy in the wintertime. Yeah. We get sunny days here and there, but I don't know how well solar would work here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any other electrical source you could use to get yourself off the grid?
I don't know. I mean, I've never looked into wind power. I mean, I think that's pretty expensive.
A lot of windmills.
To get like a big ass windmill,
or like a bunch of children running those things in a circle to like a generator.
Yeah. A bunch of hamsters and just making wheels.
Yeah.
Genius.
Bunch of hamsters.
I'm glad we had this talk.
6 children would about do it. Get them on the bicycles,
Yeah.
Oh dear. Actually, don't they have those bikes that
generate?
You ride the stationary bike and it pumps up the battery.
Why isn't every gym in the country
connected to
the
grid?
Should be connected to the grid. Every time you are on a machine, you're moving back and forth. You should be generating electricity. Think about that. That'd be amazing.
Oh
Absolutely,
that'd be so
great. You're
great.
a genius. That's amazing.
He is already married. Thank you very much.
Just saying. That's a great idea.
Completely lit up by our guest. Wow.
All right. What other area didn't we cover? What other weird things are you doing over there in Ohio?
Well, so let's see. We talked about sleeping. We talked about eating. We talked about drinking.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about movement, comfort, or discomfort.
Oh yeah, let's get into it.
Comfort and discomfort. Yeah, you mentioned
so that. Some of the things overlap a little bit. A lot of the movement I do, like Ashtanga,
is also uncomfortable.
It could fall under discomfort too a lot of times. So but movement. I mean, I think that for me, with my back, sitting did not make it feel better. Resting it did not make it feel better. Movement was the best medicine. Mm-hmm. And even still, if there's a rest day and a moon day, 2 days back to back, I am adjusting that moon day or adjusting my rest day. I'm not taking 2 days off in a row. If I do that day coming back, it's hard to move again. I need the constant movement. It's really good for my back. Obviously, in my movement routine, I have the Ashtanga practice. Mm-hmm. I do pull-ups every day. I love doing pull-ups. I think they're just one of the best bodyweight exercises there is. I think I got hooked on them as a Marine and then as a
Yeah.
climber.
Mhm.
But then they don't really hurt your Ashtanga practice either. So,
Yeah, they're good. They're actually really good.
Mark
'cause
Roberts
it's
actually convinced me to start doing pull-ups because his fucking practice is amazing, and he's doing like 50 of those things a day. And I thought, oh, I could do some pull-ups, and it fuck if my pecs didn't ache for months. They ached. I'd go to bed at night and they were just like aching, and then like none of my shirts fit anymore. It was I don't know
that's
if
a
it was
problem.
worth it.
You
I
just
don't
gotta
know
go
if it was
shirtless
worth it.
more often.
I had to go shirtless more often.
Yeah.
And
and
yeah,
then you
I
lost
don't
your
mean
back bend.
lost. I didn't lose my back bend. My back bend's phenomenal.
So pull-ups,
Pull-ups,
Yep.
yeah.
And then
yoga.
Abnormal deviant movement.
I think as much manual labor as is practical for where you live and your lifestyle, I think is important.
Mhm.
So like I said, I split my wood.
Yeah.
And I try to do as much of that by hand, like with an axe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Once in a while, I'll use the splitter if it's like elm or something that doesn't want to split. If it's a horrible wood. But I mean, most of the time I'm out there with the axe splitting the wood.
Mhm.
And I'll do like an hour or two of that, like every day in like the spring, summer, and fall. In the winter time, I don't really need to split as much.
Yeah.
And so I'll do that. But like, if you can't do that, you can't do that. But like, there's other things like, a lot of people I know who live around here, like they hire out their lawn service, I think it's a matter of, I'm not saying you shouldn't hire out your lawn service, but it's, if you're going to hire out your lawn service and then go in and sit on the couch and watch Netflix,
Not great.
then maybe you should have mowed the lawn. That walking could have been helpful.
Yeah, I agree
but
with
like,
you completely.
if you
I
have
do
to,
all the lawn stuff myself, and I do all of the snow stuff myself. And it's something that I often think about is how Krishnamacharya would say that the best exercise you can do is splitting wood.
and shoveling snow. He was a big,
Yeah,
he loved
he
it.
didn't shovel a lot of
Sorry.
snow, but
I'm sure
I
he did.
shovel a lot of snow. But
It's good exercise though, for
it's
sure.
great exercise.
Yeah, it is. It is totally.
Not awesome for your back though.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta bend your
I feel
knees.
like, you have to be, I don't know, when you have an injury, I like to think of it not as an injury, but as an opportunity to have acute awareness in a certain area of your body. So you
Mhm.
get very hyper focused on like, how do I move right to not hurt myself,
Mhm.
And, whenever you're frustrated because a certain log won't split, you get a little pissed off and you lose your form.
Mhm.
But in general, like, you can be pretty mindful with your form or with your shoveling, whatever. And I think that, if I'm splitting wood for like 6 hours and it's like, okay, like my back's starting to hurt, I'll get the splitter out and split it that way,
Mhm.
I'll alleviate that. But
Mhm.
I think that there's always something, in our lifestyle that we can probably do that we don't necessarily need to use a machine for.
Mhm.
Our lawn is pretty big here. It takes me about 3 hours on a riding mower to mow it. So I don't push mow it.
Yeah, wow.
If
Yeah.
I push mowed it, it would be like 8 hours, and that's
Yeah.
not. I don't feel like it's a useful, like it's not a good use of my time.
Mhm.
1 acre per hour.
Yeah.
I've started feeling like pulling dandelions is also not a good use of my time, and I've been thinking about getting Monsanto to come in, fucking pour poison over our yard, and then I actually would like to get rid of all the grass altogether and put in like local plants and just let it go feral.
I would try invasive species. Yeah, they spread fast.
The kudzu would do wonders for our yard, I think.
Totally.
I would.
So manual labor, natural movements, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And some weight bearing, like that pulling. It's interesting that you like those pull-ups because it's the opposite of the yoga, really, which is a lot of extension and stretching.
I think it's important. I think that balance, just like forward folding and back bending, I think the balance is really important. And even though, like I said, I'm not climbing as much as I used to, I think climbing and yoga pair really well together.
Yeah.
I was climbing a ton, when I first started, and I never had tight shoulders. I had a tight low back. I had tight hamstrings, But I always had, I could always do all the binds. Like that was never hard for me. I had really good range of motion in my shoulders. And people are like, doesn't climbing make your shoulders tight? And it's like, well, I don't know. It hasn't for me, but I think like using, if like, let's talk about like strength exercises. Like if you are doing strength exercises and you're using like a short range of motion, then like, yeah, you're going to lose range of motion. But if you're going through like the end range of an entire motion, then I think it actually builds more, it builds more range of motion, more mobility in the joint. Maybe not flexibility, but mobility. I think that's actually more important than just being like a loose little.
Yeah, I think climbing is so much about mobility and extension and range. I would have to think that you're going to get a lot of mobility in the joints.
And also, you use your legs a lot. I mean, I think people think that you just use your arms, but you use your legs like a lot.
You should be using your legs. Yeah.
So it's not really like just using your arms to pull yourself up.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But then there's also those, I don't know the word for it, when you pull your knee out to the side.
Yeah, you gotta do those
to get an angle and you're almost
like a drop knee.
Yeah. To find a way to get leverage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like a nice heel hook.
Baddha Konasana was easy for me the first time I tried it because like I would perch my feet on the wall and get my pelvis right against the wall with my knees splayed out to the side to get in close, and I could rest hands free, shake my hands out, and just sit on my feet. Like I would sit my butt on my heels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Baddha Konasana, I'm like, oh really? This is cool.
Yeah. Openness.
I know. Yeah. I think a lot of climbers really enjoy the yoga. They find it very, very complimentary.
And if you're a girl out there and you notice that there's 19 women for every man in your yoga class, and try climbing, and you might find
there's the opposite ratio.
You might find a different ratio for yourself.
And women make like, it was funny because when I worked at this climbing gym, a lot of times I would have like new people come in, and they would sign up for a lesson, and it'd be like a date. It'd be like a guy and a girl, and a lot of times these like big, bulky, strong guys were like, hey, I'll do it first because it's hard, They try to like show their girlfriend how to do it. And they would like get 5 feet up the wall and fall off. And then their girlfriend would get on the wall and be like scamper right up perfectly. So graceful. Like you were saying, it's a lot of legs, and a lot of strong guys think it's all pull-ups and they don't use any legs and they burn out within a couple of movements. Where women are a little more intelligent with their body movements, I think a lot of times. And I mean, women make amazing climbers. It's really cool to watch.
I think I was at like my peak fitness when I was climbing at the gym a lot and doing the Ashtanga practice.
Yeah, I think they pair well.
And I got old.
You're still so much younger than me, though. It unnerves me when you say that.
And then I had a child. Then I got old.
You married an old man.
And the last movement that I do is walking. I hike with Chai every single day.
Yeah,
we get out in the woods, and I think that walking in general is just good. It's stress relieving. But being in the woods, like you're getting that clean air. It's quiet. I just think it's good for you on so many levels. Being in the woods. I don't know if you guys know anything about have you ever read about forest bathing? It's like a Japanese fad.
Yeah. I once spent 3 days naked in the Upper Peninsula. If that's what you mean. I was really high, but I was stone cold naked as well.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Yeah, the Japanese are big into that.
Yeah.
No, the forest bathing is like a meditation. It can be a walking meditation, but you walk mindfully and you try to heighten all your 5 senses. You try to really experience the wilderness. But they've done studies and they say that that there's a type of white blood cell that's an immune cell. And if you spend 3 days out in the woods, on a little retreat in a cabin or something, that this cell count, it doubles for over a 30-day period after you go home.
That's amazing.
And it's an immune booster, So it's pretty cool to think about, But even if that's, who knows if the science on that is all accurate or not. but still, I mean, just think about it. Like normally we're surrounded by exhaust and like all this other stuff. You're walking in the city, you know, like just to get out in nature and have that like clean, fresh oxygen like that. I mean, there can't be anything wrong with that, you know? So I'm a big fan of just getting out and hiking every day, rain or shine, snow, waist deep snow. I'll still go, you know, just, I make chai, cut the way through the snow.
Yeah.
That's something that we didn't, I don't know why we didn't think about this, but we didn't anticipate the amount of walking we were going to do with the dogs. And it is a significant impact on our daily lives, like how much
but it's good.
time it
it's a lot of time
to walk a dog is significant because you got to be out there in minus 30.
Yeah, that's the only problem in the winter.
It is. Wow.
Builds fortitude. It's the discomfort principle.
We're like an hour and a half. We're outdoors now, and we were not doing that before.
It's nice.
It is nice.
You're absolutely right, though. I mean, it's the same. It's the discomfort. You know, that's why I do like the cold baths or cold showers, or just even like jumping in the snow and rolling around. I do that too.
Nice.
You know? But like I think like acclimating to the cold is like really good for us. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of studies. Like, do you guys follow Andrew Huberman? Huberman Lab? Yeah, he's amazing.
I don't know him.
He's so great. But like, he gives a lot of the science behind it. But it raises like what is it like? Let me look here. I forget the terms off the top of my head.
Well, it activates your vagus nerve. I know that.
It does.
Which stimulates your parasympathetic response.
But there's two like big, what are they? Dopamine. So they say like 60 degrees, 60 Fahrenheit. I forget that is in Celsius. But like 60 Fahrenheit for like up to an hour, like almost doubles our dopamine levels. And then dopamine plays like a lot of roles in the body, but you know, the one thing it does is it elevates our mood.
Yeah.
So like, that's good, you know. And then the other one is
cocaine also elevates your dopamine. I just want to put that out there.
Epinephrine. Oh
yeah,
just gives us some feeling of aliveness.
You don't have to just sit in the snow. You can just sit in the snow. Sorry.
That's a different kind of snow.
It's a different kind. You know about that stuff, do you? Okay. Yeah.
So do you wake up and take a cold shower? Do you do hot and then cold?
What I usually do is in the morning before I practice, I like to get warm, especially in the time here. So I don't do a cold shower in the morning typically.
Okay.
I'll get a hot shower. I'll go to the shower, maybe get in the sauna. Do my hip stretches and do my practice. But after practice, so like one of the benefits of the sauna is that like whenever you work out, you get into like an anabolic state. If you get right into a hot sauna after a workout, it actually tricks your body into thinking it's under stress still because your heart and your lungs are under stress. So it keeps you in the anabolic state longer. So I usually get into there right after my practice, like quick shavasana and then boom, right into the thing for like 30 minutes. And then I start teaching.
What's the benefit of doing that?
Being in an anabolic
state, you're in a muscle building state. Versus like catabolic, where it's like muscle deteriorating, you know. So if you're getting like proper nutrients, you know, and you're in an anabolic state longer, then your muscles are in a state of building longer, which is good.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
But then I like to.
I wanted to build a sauna in the house. I told you that.
Just like start a fire in like a random room and close the door.
Right.
Should work.
Okay.
So then when are you cold showering? Like in the
after
afternoon?
That? No, after that. So then I'll get out of the sauna, and then, you know, before I teach, I want to just get a quick rinse off, you know, some
nice.
So I'll just like jump in the shower and like I'll do hot water for just like a minute or two, and I just gradually turn it down cold. And then I have a tub in my backyard, and I'll do that like a couple times a week.
An ice bath.
Yeah.
Proper ice bath. Yeah. Get all the heat out of the body. Nice.
You got to do that if you're getting up at 2 a.m. You got to get that heat out of the body.
Yeah.
The inflammation builds up, I'm telling you. Yeah. It's true.
Well, he's being very
I know.
You're
very
meditating.
I know. He's much more healthy than we are, for sure.
Clean during the day.
But the inflammation does build up.
I think the cynicism builds up the inflammation, is my experience. I don't think he's got a lot of that.
No, right? He's so nice
He's
and
a
sweet.
nice guy.
Did we miss anything? Did we miss any? Oh, what do you do for comfort? Come on.
He's got his dog there, sweetie. Chai is a comforting dog.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing. I think connecting with others and then with animals, like with your pets, that's like definitely part of comfort. But like meditation, reading, that's all kind of like my comfort things. And some people consider this not a comfort. I don't know. I kind of consider it discomfort, but some people love it. Some people love heat. I'm more inclined to be cold than hot myself. But yeah, I mean the forest bathing, like the hiking, I feel like is part of comfort. But then also like caring. I think caring for plants. Like there's like a meditation when I'm like digging my hands in the dirt. Like I have a lot of potted plants in the house and in the shala and stuff, and I find that there's a connection there, and it's very peaceful for me. So like that is part of comfort. Even like my vegetable garden, like taking care of that is part of my comfort. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, I think.
Do you ever just like sneak a vegan brownie with a coffee or something?
I have. Okay, so I have a major sweet tooth. I love sugar.
All right, now we're talking.
Yeah.
You're pre-diabetic, sweetie. I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
No, I'm talking about what his guilty pleasure is. There's got to be something. There's always something.
No, ice cream is my biggest weakness by far. But really, any chocolate, like if you leave chocolate in the house, like
it's gone.
I mean, you can't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't last. Like, yeah, I mean, there's like no limit to like my level of fullness when it comes to chocolate.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you drink coffee?
I do, but like I didn't until I think I was like 40, maybe. Like,
oh wow.
I mean, maybe like on a climbing road trip. If I was like doing like a 20-hour drive out west or something, like I would drink some coffee, like just for like, for the purpose of it, but not because I liked it. I never really liked it. Yeah, I mean, really, when I went to Italy and taught for the first time and had espresso, that's when I was like, oh, like. This is pretty strong. I think I could do coffee. So I came home and was like, yeah, coffee's pretty good.
Yeah.
But do you drink it every day or is it just like a special treat?
None every day. No.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, speaking of traveling, I was looking at your schedule on your website for the amount of workshops that you're doing. Is that a pretty regular schedule that you keep? Are you on the road that much usually?
So like I think I did my first like international workshop in like 2016 or 17 maybe, and then every year like I don't advertise it at all. I don't personally, and I mean if you guys do this, no offense or anything, but I personally don't find it very tasteful to just randomly write an email to Shawls and say, hey, I'm Mark Garaux, this is what I offer, do you want to hire me? I get emails like that from my Shawl all the time.
Really?
I don't know. So I
Oh, you get emails like that.
I do, yeah. From people I don't know or don't have a connection with. And it's like I kind of want someone that I'm connected with to teach
for
me
sure.
my shawl, not just some random person that wants to sell me something. So I don't do that. So my workshops have built slowly. Like I never was out there like peddling it, trying to get it, people to do it. It's just like if someone liked what I had to say on social media and they want to hire me, then they reach out to me,
Yeah.
So it built up slowly over the years, and it was starting to build up a lot right before COVID. I think the year before COVID, I had like maybe like 10 or 12 like international workshops, and then COVID happened, so like nothing. And then last year I was pretty busy. Last year I had, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 workshops.
Wow.
And this year I think I have like 20. I think I have 27 on the book right now for this for 2023.
Amazing.
I'm not going to take any more for this year. I pretty much from like March to September, I'm like booked almost solid, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So,
what do you do with your shala? You got some teachers there that take care of it for you?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, it was always kind of like a little bit of a free for all. Like sometimes I'd have a teacher that could sub like 2 days a week, but they couldn't do every day. And it was just kind of whatever I could get. The other days I would just be like, hey, the door will be unlocked. Just come and do self-practice and don't hurt yourself, you know? And I had students doing that, like the members, you know, not just like walk-ins or anything. This year I have like, you know, a lady who's been assisting me for a while, but her schedule has recently changed and she's now going to be assisting me 6 days a week. So whenever I'm gone, she'll be able to run the whole schedule.
And
so that'll be good because for consistency, like I would always like build my clients up, you know, like get like more and more students, and then I would be gone for like a month, like in my store. Or,
for
like
sure.
the new ones you lose, like the ones who aren't booked yet, you know. It's like
they're there because you were there.
Yeah. And is it just Mysore that you teach? Is only a morning Mysore? Do you do lead classes?
I do lead as well. Yeah. So for the last I think I started my shala in 2016. I always did Saturday rest day, and then Sunday through Thursday Mysore, and then Friday lead. That was always my schedule. But now I'm going to actually change that in a few days. February 1st, I'm going to change that. I'm going to start going with a Sunday rest day. And Monday, you know, like Sharat does like lead intermediate on Mondays. I don't have enough students like doing enough of intermediate to do a lead intermediate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lead primary with like an intro to intermediate. So we're going to do like the first 5 or 6 postures of intermediate. You know,
that's nice.
So I'll do that on Mondays, and I'll have Tuesday through Friday Mysore, and then a lead primary on Saturday.
Sharat is teaching a very different demographic at 4:30 in the morning than we get back home. We get his 4:30 p.m. class. That's what we get. And that's, you know, that not a lot of advanced practitioners in that 4:30 p.m. class. No.
And so, but you don't do any evening classes. Like you have your evenings free, your afternoons free. Yeah.
Private lessons, you know.
Right.
Evenings and afternoons, no. When I first opened my shala, I was doing morning Mysore from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day.
Whoa.
And then I was doing an evening Mysore from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Every day. And I wanted to die. I couldn't sustain. I was like, this is insane.
That's how many of us developed a coffee addiction. In fact.
I don't know how teachers do. I know a lot of teachers that do. I mean, they do morning and night, and that's just their
you got to take a big nap in the afternoon. You can't have any children or any social relationships at all.
Those 3 things.
Yeah, I don't nap during the day.
Nap,
like really bad
no
headaches,
children, no personal relationships.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Outside of potentially maybe a spouse that's very understanding.
But they have to be your personal assistant as well.
Or your personal assistant.
That personal assistant has to be your spouse. Bedfellow.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
So after a while, like I just told my students, like, look, like if you want to keep practicing, you're gonna have to learn how to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
And you know, for a while, like I was like threatening to stop the evening Mysore, and they're like, I'll have to quit. I won't be able to come anymore. And I didn't want to lose, you know, because they're like nice people and they really like to practice. And you know, so I'm like, all right, I'll keep it going. And I kept threatening it, you know. And finally, I'm like, I'm doing it. And like of all the people that said, oh no, like it doesn't work for our schedules, we can't. They all end up coming in the mornings anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
I should have done this earlier.
Good. And are you still teaching from 5:30 to 11?
Well, so I'm doing 5 to 8, and then my assistant will do 8 to 11.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Well, how could people find your class?
Yeah. Do you take guests? Do you take visitors?
Drop-ins?
Yeah, I do. I have no sign here actually. It's like a Ashtanga speakeasy. You know, it's like we're hidden. You have to know. You have to know where we are.
And it's on your property, is it?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're just living the dream.
The house that I'm in right now, this is our house. This wall behind me, on the other side of that wall is another apartment, and then there's another apartment on the other side of that. So it's like a triplex. It's a big long house that's divided into 3 separate living spaces. And then the shala is it was an apartment also. It's a separate building, and it's like over there, about I don't know, 20 yards from my house. It's a rough commute, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like kind of how PJ
Yeah.
lives up in Milwaukee. It's the
Yeah,
same.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But right now I have renters in there. Like when we bought the place, it came with renters. So they're in there. But eventually, when they move out, I would like to open that up to guests, because I do, like Geneva, Ohio has like 4,000 people, and it's a very small town. A lot of my people come from Cleveland, which is an hour away, or they come from like
Wow.
Pittsburgh, which is like 2 hours away. I mean, like people come from a little ways, and then I have a lot of students that come here like Instagram friends who like come for a week and stay. They make a little mini like retreat out of it.
Yeah.
That's
we
amazing.
We have an extra room in our house that they stay in, but eventually we'd like to let them have their own like apartment, for people that stay.
On Saturday, Dad and I got in the car and we were driving to Pittsburgh from Detroit because he likes to drive. And I think we probably weren't an hour from Geneva when we had to turn around because of the snowstorm.
Yeah.
I should have popped in and got a practice in.
Yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been amazing.
But the snow came.
Well, you would have had a place to crash.
I would like to try that sometime.
Yeah. Beautiful. So people could just email you and you could give them like the map.
It's going to need a map.
Yeah, I mean, my website has all the info where we're at and stuff,
Great.
And what's your website?
Great Lakes Ashtanga, I think, right?
Yeah, Great Lakes Ashtanga Yoga.
Great Lakes Ashtanga Yoga.
Kind of a mouthful.
And they are Great Lakes, aren't they?
They are great.
All 5 of them.
All 5 of them.
Even Lake Erie, damn it.
Yeah. We could do a little shout out too to York over there in the UK, because you're heading there, I think, in March.
Oh, that's sold out though. No one who's listening is going to be able to go to that. That is sold out.
But then I'm going in May.
Yeah.
I think there's still a few spots left.
Yeah, that's not sold out at all.
I'm coming.
Yeah, he's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So
I'm good.
even if people don't want to meet me, they should come to meet you in May, because you're going to be there.
Yeah, come meet Mark while Harmony teaches yoga in York.
I'm super excited to practice with you. Actually, I've been wanting to meet you and work with you for a long time. Actually,
a ball breaker. You were going to regret ever saying that.
I'm going to put myself in boot camp for the next 4 months.
Step on your hands. She's going to punch you in the back. She's going to slap your thighs. All the things.
All the things.
Oh, thanks,
cool.
Man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comfort and discomfort in my class. Yeah.
Anyway, that was
and
my
you're still up to your pranayama practice too, I assume, right?
What's that?
You're still doing your pranayama practice too, I assume, with your group, or not so much?
No, I don't really do a whole lot of pranayama.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna edit that part out. That's fine.
I mean,
that'll be next on your list of things to do then.
I feel like, I mean, I practice it here and there, but I feel like it's such a subtle body thing that you should really be like awesome at it to teach it. And I'm not. Like, it's not my forte. I think there's a lot of better people to teach it. So I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Well, it has been a real pleasure to get to know you. And I feel like we made a little friend here, and I'd love to meet you at some point.
Yeah.
And I'll see you in May.
Yeah. If you guys want to come down to Great Lakes Ashtanga Yoga sometime, we would love to have you here.
That would be amazing, because I would come, I'd see my dad, we would drive to Geneva, and we'd all practice with you, because he does his little practice in the morning, and we'd be great. We would love to come down.
Well, let's schedule it. I would be honored to have you guys do some workshops here. It'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
We could go see the
we could do some forest bathing.
What's the museum in Pittsburgh?
I mean, you can run around naked in the woods. I mean, it's fine. We got plenty of woods. No one will see them.
Amazing.
Well, I feel really like I really want to. I was almost to Pittsburgh, and now I really want to go.
Well,
so be good.
One of these days. We'll have to wait till you're back from all your travels.
Yeah.
And then we can drive down, get my dad, and come see you.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a lot of fun, and it was actually too much fun. It was too comfortable. We'll have to go do something.
All right, we'll have to do some more discomfort.
I thought I was very uncomfortable to listen to, honestly.
It was uncomfortably awkward.
Right? That's what I bring. That's the tension that I bring to the conversation. Why am I here?
Bring the off-gassing and the garlic for sure.
Goodness.
But you have to get to bed now. It's getting close to bedtime. So thank you for staying up late-ish to talk to us.
7 minutes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
And happy early morning wake up and practice. We'll be thinking about you at that'll be like midnight our time.
We're just getting to bed.
Sound asleep.
Okay, it was absolutely delightful.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.